Hello and welcome to the United Community Channel. My name is Jack and this is your match preview for the big one, United versus Liverpool in Old Trafford. We've got plenty to talk about. Starting 11s, no more excuses. Players being out injured, loads to talk about. Please smash a like on the video, hit subscribe if you're new, and let's jump straight into it. So, as we know, biggest game of the season for Manchester United. It always has been, in my opinion. Some people will say Manchester City, some people will say even Arsenal. But for me, it's Old Trafford versus Liverpool. And we go into this game with, me personally, I think it's been a decent enough start to the season. Obviously, the loss last week against Brighton was desperately disappointing. But I think there has been an improvement in our performance levels on the back of last season. Last season was atrocious. However, we cannot have any more excuses going into this game. And I'm kind of aiming that slightly at Erik ten Hag a little bit here. You know, we've obviously had a very good transfer window and we've got some good players in. And I understand that these players are probably not up to match fitness as of yet, or as of last weekend at least. However, we're playing Liverpool in Old Trafford. No more excuses. Start your strongest team. I do not want to see Harry Maguire starting this game. You know, obviously I gave him man of the match against Fulham. I thought he was brilliant. But he was a big reason why we lost the game against Brighton last weekend, especially for the first goal. We've got the Ligt primed on the bench, ready to go. I say start him, you know what I mean? And of course we'll get into our starting 11 in a few minutes. There can't be any more excuses. You know, we've seen other areas of the field where potentially we haven't been at our strongest, and we'll get into one of them in a moment. But we are seeing again this week with Mason Mount being out with an injury. I think it's a hamstring injury. It's going to be 3 or 4 weeks, I think, at the bare minimum. Obviously, we've got the international break coming up, so a lot of his injury will be seen out through that, but he is going to miss a couple of games on the back end of it as well. Does that allow us to bring Zirkzee in now and start him in as a striker? I do think we missed that focal point in the last few games. I think that the false nine role does kind of work well if it's played correctly. And, you know, we played it at the back end of last season as well. So, you know, we basically won an FA Cup off it against Manchester City. But I think it means Zirkzee can come in as that focal point and maybe dropping Bruno back into, you know, the Mason Mount role. I do think we are going to miss Mason Mount in terms of his pressing in the final third. I think his energy levels have been fantastic so far this season, and he's been getting a lot of criticism online from United fans as well. The online fan base saying, you know, he's been poor. I have to disagree. I think he's been a little bit sloppy with some of his passes. But in terms of the energy levels he's been giving us, I think he's been brilliant. I think, you know, triggering that press in the final third and keeping teams pinned back as much as possible, he's been very good. But again, look, starting 11 is vital on the weekend on Sunday against Liverpool. We have to start our strongest 11. There can't be any more excuses from Erik ten Hag. We need to go into this game as strong as possible because we're playing, you would say, a higher standard of opposition now to what we played already this season. No more excuses. Start your strongest 11, Eric. Now, next up, we're going to talk about Marcus Rashford and that forward line, the wide areas. Obviously, I've mentioned Marcus Rashford a lot so far this season, and a lot of the Manchester United fan base have been talking about him and maybe a poor performance against Brighton last weekend. I've been saying so far throughout pre-season and into the start of the season that I think his work rate has improved and he looks more interested. Now, against Brighton last week, he looked like the old Marcus Rashford. And by the old Marcus Rashford, I don't mean the 30 goal a season striker. I mean the Marcus Rashford we saw last season. He looked kind of disinterested again. His head was down. He's not taking the chances that fall to him as well. He's had a number of chances over the 3 games now, you know, the 2 in the league and then the 1 in the Community Shield, where he should really be scoring. And I think it's time for Erik ten Hag to drop him. I think he needs to sit in the bench. And not just because he's playing so bad, but I think it's because we've got players that are looking a lot more sharp and looking a lot more dangerous than Marcus Rashford in the likes of Ahmad and Garnacho. Garnacho has looked very impressive when he's come off the bench. Now, we said this it wasn't last season, it was the season before that, Garnacho was a very potent player coming off the bench for us, and when he started games he tended to drift in and out. Now he's coming off the bench for the last couple of games for us, he's looked very lively, so I can understand if there is an argument there to say continue to use him off the bench. But when you want to go out and win a game at Old Trafford against your biggest rivals, you start your strongest team. So it's going back to our previous point. I think Marcus Rashford needs to be dropped. I think he cannot have special treatment above anybody else. And I think Garnacho and Ahmad have been playing better than him so far this season. And look, we know that Garnacho hasn't had a full pre-season and Marcus Rashford has. So again, that could be the reason why Garnacho hasn't got the nod over Rashford. But again, I go back to what I've been saying. You know, Garnacho scored last week. It was very unlucky that it wasn't given. Ahmad scored. He's looked dangerous. Garnacho has looked very dangerous. He's looked sharp. And again, we've got an extra week of full training into these players where Garnacho can say, hey, look, I'm up to match fitness now. I'm up to match pace. I want to start. And I think it's going to be a headache for Erik ten Hag to whether it, maybe it could be an easy decision for him. But yeah, I mean, I think Ahmad and Garnacho should be our starting wide players until they give us a reason to not play them, because they've looked good, they've looked sharp, they've looked hungry as well. So I say start them. Young players, put them in there and give them their head and let them go on and prove themselves. And if they don't, then you can always drop back to the likes of Marcus Rashford, even Anthony, God forbid. So yeah, no more excuses like we said in the previous point, but I think when it comes to Marcus Rashford, I think he has to sit this one out, unfortunately. Now let's talk about Liverpool, the opposition. They go into this game in some very good form, it has to be said. Obviously 2 wins from 2. They haven't played, out of this world opposition, it has to be said. 2 games have been 2-0 wins for them, Ipswich, and then of course last weekend as well. The one thing I would say about Liverpool is they look very, very dangerous going forward. In the transition, on the counter-attack, they're lightning. That goal they scored last week, Luis Diaz, where they broke from one end of the field to the other in the space of, less than 10 seconds. They went from their own box to putting the ball in the net in the far end. Very impressive. They create chances at will, which is something that Manchester United need to be very careful about. But I think the game is going to be won and lost on the weekend in the midfield. We know it's going to. Obviously, we're recording this on Friday, which is transfer deadline day. We haven't got the official confirmation around Ugarte. He has to be registered before 12 noon today, I think, or is it 12 tonight? Before he can play in the Liverpool game. Will he play? Probably not. He hasn't had a full pre-season. He's been left out of the last few match day squads with PSG in anticipation of his move to Manchester United. So it's probably going to be the similar midfield to what we're used to seeing so far this season. And I think it's going to be won and lost in the midfield. If we can control the midfield and can control Liverpool's counter-attacking game and transitioning game, I think it will give us a good foothold to go on and try and win it. But Liverpool, like always, can't be taken for granted. Mo Salah has started the season in flying form. Diogo Jota is playing well. Diaz is playing well as well. So their forward line is, quite potent. I do think they can be got at the back. And I think if you go with the likes of Garnacho and Ahmad, and Garnacho especially, who likes to run in behind rather than dropping short and looking to the to feed with the ball, I think we got a good chance of actually getting in and causing them trouble at the back. I don't think their defence is overly strong. And I think we can get at him if we play the game right. But like I said, Liverpool can't be taken for granted. Midfield is vital. But yeah, I'm confident. We've had 1 loss to Liverpool in the last 5 games. So why shouldn't we be confident going into this game? I think we can get a result here. I honestly do. But let me know what you guys think. Now let's get into the starting 11. As you can see on screen, this is the starting 11 that I am going with, my predicted 11. Again, let me know your predicted 11, guys, in the comment section below. But I've gone with, obviously, Andre Onana starts in goal. I've gone with a back 4. The full backs remain the same. Mazraoui and Delort have been playing really well. Martinez has had a couple of good games as well. But I am bringing Ligt into that back 4 instead of Harry Maguire. Like I said, he is our best centre-back in that right-sided centre-back position. He's miles ahead of Harry Maguire. and he's had another full week of training under his belt now, so he should be ready to go. So I'm bringing him into the back four. The midfield, obviously there's one change there with Mason Mount coming out. Sticking with Casemiro and Kobbie Mainoo, and then we drop Bruno Fernandes from the false 9 back into that number 10 role. And I think, look, it's a very minor change there, and one that, is not going to cause any upsets. Obviously, that's been our go-to midfield three last season as well. And the forward line then, guys, obviously Joshua Zirkzee comes in my predicted 11 with Bruno Fernandes dropping back. Ahmad keeps his place on that right-hand side, and I've gone with Garnacho on the left ahead of Marcus Rashford. I think he deserves the start. I think Ahmad deserves to keep his place after the goal he scored last weekend, and I think Zirkzee deserves to come in as well into that forward line. And I think it's a very young, fast, fearless forward line, if I do say so. And, I think it's one that can really have a go at Liverpool, I have to say. But again, look, this is a strong starting 11 for Manchester United. And it is one, I think, that can absolutely get a result against Liverpool. We have to understand as well, and we have to realise that we're playing at home. We're playing in Old Trafford. The crowd is going to be right behind us. I was at the last Liverpool game there in the Cup when we won 4-3, and it was electric. So I'm expecting more of the same on the weekend. But that starting 11, guys, is 100% capable of getting a result against Liverpool on the weekend. But like I said, let me know your predicted 11 in the comment section below. Would you change anything like that as well? Or who would you bring in, or who would you keep? Let me know in the comment section. Score prediction time. Now, like I said in the previous point, I think United can get a result here. I honestly do. Liverpool can't be taken for granted. Absolutely they can't. And, they've been scoring goals so far this season. Now, look, we do know, obviously, with the opposition that they've been playing against, it's been Ipswich, and, of course, then it was Brentford last weekend. Now, Brentford, a decent side, but you would be expecting Liverpool to beat them. But I'm quietly confident going into this game. I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be, given the last few fixtures we played against them and the results we've taken from this fixture. I do think there's going to be goals in it. Like I said, Liverpool create chances at will. United have been creating some good chances in the last couple of games as well. We need to start converting them, though. And you would hope with the likes of Joshua Zirkzee coming into the team that we can maybe start converting some more chances. Score prediction, I'm going with the United win. I'm going to go with a 2-1 win to Manchester United. Goals to come from Garnacho and Zirkzee. That's my score prediction. Let me know your score prediction in the comment section below as well, guys. We will be live for the game on the weekend. Also, we'll be live from 3 o'clock, sorry. It's a 4 o'clock kickoff, so we will be live from 3 o'clock on Sunday. I hope you can join us for that as well. Please do smash a like on the video if you haven't done so already, guys. It helps the channel out an awful lot. Do hit that subscribe button if you're new to the channel as well. I hope to see you Sunday. Have a great day, and I'll see you on the next one. Take care.